Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Patterson.
Thanks, Chair. With your permission, I've got a few questions here, and if I could share some of my time with Senator Scarr, who's got some follow-up questions. Thank you. Mr Bazzulo, I want to take you to some quotes from your minister and others on the importance of bipartisanship when it comes to national security. Prior to the last election, in its national security policy platform, Labor promised, quote, "Labor will take the politics out of national security, always seeking bipartisanship and always acting in our shared national interest." And in a speech at the Australian National University, your minister said in relation to foreign interference specifically, I want to have a conversation about this which is open, informed and non-partisan. This is very, very important because partisanship in this conversation is a huge problem. She goes on to emphasise that point. Is that your view too, that the use of language when discussing these kind of serious matters of national security be as bipartisan as possible?
Mr Bazzulo, before you answer, I don't want to preempt your questions, Senator Patterson. We just had a discussion about this is cross-portfolio and corporate matters, and any substantive questions about outcome one, which we are seeking to get to as soon as possible, should be asked under outcome one.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to remind you of that before this exchange goes too much further.
I hear you, Chair, and I promise that by the time I get to my questions, you'll see why this is in cross-portfolio and not outcome one.
Hope we get there quickly.
So you're asking me about bipartisanship?
Yeah.
I think it would be improper for me to have a view about that because our democracy should sort out. I can see circumstances where there needs to be a public debate which has conflicting values, norms and views, and for a public official to say, "Hey, everyone settle down."
Let me narrow it down to assist you.
It's not my role to admonish parliamentarians about how they engage.
I wouldn't ask you to do that. Let me narrow it down to make it more direct for you. Is it important that in the department's communications that there is no hint of partisanship in what you produce?
I can absolutely assure you that as a public service department, we abide by the Public Service Code, which includes, amongst other things, a legislative requirement to operate in an impartial fashion. Absolutely.
Yeah, OK. Well, I'll take you to a document published by your department, a migration system for a more prosperous and secure Australia. And there's a section on the second page in the opening paragraph which says that Australia must have a more targeted, simpler migration system that serves our national interests and helps migrants thrive. Yet after a wasted decade of continental drift and piecemeal change, our current system lacks direction, is complex, etc., etc. This is not a forward by the minister. This is not identified as being from the government. This is unsigned and therefore I assume has come from the department. That language is exactly the kind of partisan language that the government uses to try and trash the record of the previous government. Is it appropriate in a departmental issued document to use that kind of partisan language?
I'd need to check the provenance of the document. If it's a review or a document written by external parties, then that would be one matter. If it's a document issued under the authority of the minister, then that would be another matter. But the sorts of
Mr.
corporate
Bazzulo,
documents
this is a document issued by your department. It says on the front page, Australian Government, Department of Home Affairs. Please don't tell me you're not familiar with a major document that your department issued in April.
I might just ask Ms Foster to attend. If it's the review that was undertaken into the migration system as distinct from the government's response, certainly the department hasn't issued a response to that immigration review, but we might just get Ms Foster to attend because I don't have the document in front of me. It's not on the screen, so I'm just going to be a bit cautious about how I respond. But to your general proposition about whether a departmental document should make references to a so-called wasted decade of this, that, or the other, then no, it shouldn't. If it's issued on the authority of the minister, she can quite properly engage in a political debate with her opponents as she sees fit.
It's a 7-page document. There's no signature block from the minister. There's no photo of the minister. There is nothing in this document that identifies that it has come from the minister or the minister's office. Perhaps that's where it was drafted. I don't know. But it's on your website. It is only identified as an Australian Government Department of Home Affairs document, and it contains explicitly partisan language.
Well, Well, if Ms Foster can attend, and perhaps she's looking at the document as we speak, I know that the Minister commissioned an independent review. She has, I think, to go back to the start of your question, used that kind of language about the judgment of this government about the performance of its predecessor. As to whether that document's got the status of a departmental document, I'll just check. If it does, it won't say that, I can assure you. Are you familiar with the document that the Senator is referring to?
I think, Senator, you have the advantage of having the document.
Yeah, it's a public document on the department's website. It's not a secret classified piece of information.
Yes.
It's a pretty significant document, Minister. I would expect.
But you have the advantage of having it in front of you.
I'm sure that Secretariat could circulate
table
it.
the document, Senator, to make it easier for
I'm sure this,
officials?
you could pull out your phone or your iPad and pull it up. It's on the department's website. Ms Foster.
Senator, I'm just having someone actually pull it up for me so I can check, but my understanding is that that is the document that was released. It was indeed Minister O'Neill's document, was released in conjunction with the Press Club speech, in which she referred to the fact that she would release
It doesn't say
paper,
anywhere on the document that it was the work of the minister.
Which is why I'm just having it checked, Senator.
It's on the department's website.
Well, I can give you an assurance at the table that no departmental document will have any kind of, it will have any pejorative or partisan language about the performance of the former government, the government before the former government, and if it is misidentified in that way, it'll be fixed by about 11 o'clock. I can assure you.
I would be very grateful for that, because I don't think there's any way that the public could identify that this is not from the department, if it indeed is not from the department.
Ms Foster and I will scrutinise the document visually to make sure that
I've just had it confirmed, Senator. It is indeed Minister O'Neill's document. The error is in the way we have not identified that on the website, and we will correct that.
Okay, thank you.
And how can we give the Senator an assurance, leaving aside the visual misidentification, that it's Minister O'Neill's document? Because that's the assurance I think the Senator...
Because my staff have just checked the document and they've confirmed to me that that was indeed the document that was produced by the Minister in conjunction with that speech.
I'm grateful for your recognition that this is problematic and that your commitment to fix it so that it's clearly identified as belonging to the Minister. What steps will you put in place in the future to make sure the Minister doesn't again issue documents that appear to be from the department that have partisan languages in it?
Well, the function of curating our website, that falls to the department, so any error, the Minister doesn't have a web administrator, so I will ensure through another part of the department, it falls under Ms Sharp, that our website curation is not just merely 100% accurate, it's 1,000% accurate. I don't think anyone needs to have any concerns about the ability of my department to operate apolitically in a highly contested space. We did so on election day, where we stood our ground in the interests of the apolitical defence of my department, and I intend to do so on this occasion. If we've got the web management wrong, I do apologise.
It's not just the web management. I mean, it's the document itself. So, I mean, it's a PDF that could be circulated in its own right, and no doubt was circulated by the Minister's office to journalists and others. It's document control as well as website management. I mean, this is not just a web administrator issue. Your logo is on the front page.
If it's a document issued under the Minister's name, there are plenty of other instances where ministerial documents clearly identify that they are ministerial documents. If that hasn't occurred on this occasion, I will remedy it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Moving on a related matter, does the